You know an argument I can't stand? The idea that just because something came first, it's automatically better. Sometimes, okay, that's true, but most of the time, it's the because I said so of opinions. But then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who act like everything old needs to be remade, like they have an Unreal Engine bucket list or something. Deus Ex, Symphony of the Night, Devil May Cry 3, if it's a beloved classic, somebody somewhere has said, bro, they should totally remake that. But should they? In this video, I'm gonna break down the different types of remakes you see out there and try to make a broader point at the end. Let's start with what I call the bare minimum remake, basically the original game in cosplay. The original is almost untouched except for a few minor changes here and there and a fresh coat of Unreal Engine paint. The most recent example I can give you is Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, which was at least honest with its title. These types of remakes really are just glorified remasters, and I think we can all agree that these are only okay if they're sold at a discount. If you're asking me to drop $60, $70, or even $80 on what boils down to a graphical update, you're just crazy. But if priced adequately, these remakes are inoffensive, especially since there's people out there who can get really picky when it comes to graphics, right? Like they'll faint at the sight of a pixelated edge in a video game. So these kinds of remakes at least help get old classics into the hands of new people, which is the second highest priority behind any remake. The first being to make money, obviously. Next up, the scam, which is basically a catfish scheme. The scams are dangerous, man. People will oftentimes defend remakes by saying, well, if you don't like the remake, you still have the original. But the problem is that when remakes are bad, and I'm talking offensively bad here, they leave such an awful taste in your mouth that instead of creating new fans, they can actually drive people away from the series. Exhibit A, the release version of Warcraft 3 Reforged. Removed features, added bugs, looked worse than the original in some cases somehow. It was basically a crime scene you could download. And I'm talking about the release version, by the way. I hear they fixed some stuff with later patches. But for my money, no remake embodied the concept of the scam more than 13. A remake that was so astronomically bad that they, and I'm not kidding here, had to remake the game. I hear the second go around is actually pretty decent, but just the fact they had to do it over tells you how awful that first version was. Whenever you ask for a remake of a game, seriously consider the possibility it could end up being a scam and ask yourself if you really need that. Then we have apples and oranges. These are remakes that are so different from the original that comparing them almost feels unfair. Resident Evil 2 and 3 are perfect examples. Same general story, same characters, completely different feel. Some people will say that the photorealistic graphics, over-the-shoulder perspective, and modernized controls make the remakes 100 times better than the originals, while others will say that the pixelated graphics, fixed camera angles, and tank controls of the PlayStation 1 games give them much more charm and soul than the remakes. They're so different that any comparison is gonna come down to personal taste. Apples and oranges. What doesn't come down to personal taste, though, is this final one. The gold standard. These are the David Bowies of remakes, okay? Flawless, rare, and almost impossible to replicate. They keep all the good stuff, fix all the bad stuff, and add brand new good stuff on top. Whenever people ask for a remake, they're thinking of the gold standard. Examples? Well, Metroid Zero Mission, Blaster Master Zero, which I previously reviewed on the channel. Speaking as somebody who played both versions of these games, going back to the originals after having played the remakes feels like traveling back in time to the Stone Age. But here's the catch. Both of those gold standards I mentioned started with games that were good, but not perfect. Don't get me wrong, both the original Metroid and Blaster Master are good games, influential games, but neither of them are flawless. Both of these games had to do a lot of experimentation in the first go-around. I mean, Metroid created the Metroidvania genre. It's not like there was an established rulebook back then. That's why the game got so much better with Zero Mission. Not only was there more advanced technology, but the developers knew what worked and what didn't work within the genre. That's why, if you're gonna remake a Devil May Cry game, I say you remake the first two. DMC1 is fun, but it could be improved with better camera angles, a larger arsenal, and a more traditional mission structure. DMC2 is damn near universally considered the worst game in the series. It could benefit from everything I said about DMC1 plus like a million other changes. Same thing for Castlevania. If you're gonna remake one of those games, I say pick Simon's Quest. Great ideas, weird execution. What I don't get is remaking games that are already as close to perfect as you can get. Like, I once saw someone say that Symphony of the Night needed a remake to make the menus cooler and make some minor graphical tweaks. Like, really? That's the pitch? Something a ROM hack could do? These classics already do pretty much everything right, so there's not much room to improve upon them. What I'm saying is, turning a 7 into a 9 is impressive, but turning a 9.5 into a 9.8 isn't. Sure, both are better, but is the second one even worth it? I'm not asking that from a business perspective, by the way, because I know for a fact Devil May Cry 3 Remake would probably outsell A Cure for Caffeine Addiction, but as a player, I would much rather see Devil May Cry 6, a new story, new levels, and new characters, not just a prettier version of something I have already played a million times. Because as long as we're stuck chasing the magic of older games, we're not moving forward. And you can't make the next all-time great if you're too busy polishing up the last one. But hey, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? What games do you want to see remakes of? What games do you think should never get remakes? Let me know in the comments. As usual, if you've made it this far in the video, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out. That's it for today. Join me next time as I talk about the sequel to one of those gold standard remakes, Blaster Master 02. That's right, BMZ was so good that it spawned its very own line of sequels, and the crazy part is 02 might be even better than the first game. Talk to you about that next time. See ya.